Good morning, everyone. My name is Nicole, and I am the Parent Support Worker for the Niagara Catholic District School Board EarlyON Child and Family Center. I am here today for our weekly coffee and conversation in which all parents, grandparents, guardians, and caregivers are welcome. Our program topics revolve around ensuring that you feel well, confident, and present in your parenting and caregiving role. As always, if you are unable to sit with me now, you are welcome to warm up your coffee and sit with me later at a more convenient time. We now post all of our video content to our YouTube channel, so be sure to subscribe and stay up to date with our videos. The last 2 weeks we talked about emotional literacy, its influence on self-regulation, and what self-regulation means. This week we are going to focus on strategies to support our children's self-regulation. So we will use a variety of resources today to gather up some really great ideas. But as always, I will link everything in the comments if you'd like to get more information on the things that I discussed today. So we are going to start with Dr. Stuart Shanker, the founder of Self-Reg. As a reminder, he defined self-regulation as the child's ability to manage energy expenditure in response to stressors and then recover from that effort. So what are the possible stressors? Shanker tells us that stress comes from 5 key domains. 1, biological, 2, emotional, 3, cognitive, 4, social, and 5, prosocial. So biological stressors might be things like allergies, being hungry, having a sensitivity to fabrics like an itchy wool hat or something. It could be illness or inadequate sleep. Emotional stressors might be a change in daily routines. It could be conflict, fear of punishment, or nightmares. Cognitive stressors might be learning something new, having over or under stimulation, or even having visual problems. Social stressors might be from crowds, jealousy, or a lack of social engagement. And pro-social stressors might be more likely experienced by adults or older children, such as having a sick child, having lack of empathy due to compassion fatigue, having moral dilemmas, or watching the news or experiencing something that's unfair. Stressors such as these, whether alone or combined, create heightened stress and lead to negative consequences associated with unregulated behavior. So our goal has to be to identify and reduce the stressors to assist in teaching our kids how to use the strategies to self-regulate. So Shanker provides 5 steps for self-regulation. Number 1, read the signs of stress and reframe the behavior. So understand what stress looks like in your child. Reframe what's going on as a stress behavior and not a misbehavior. So this one is really, really important. Instead of reprimanding a tantrum, consider asking why. Why now? What's going on and how can I remove or reduce the stimuli that is causing this misbehavior or this stress behavior? So we have something that I'll attach in the comments. It's an outline that was provided by Dr. Shanker, and it's called Reframe the Behavior. So as you can see within the printout, this is reframing the behavior, or rather reframing our thoughts of the behavior. So this might mean going from they won't behave in church today to they can't yet behave in church today, which invites curious thinking on behalf of the adult's mindset. So why can't they behave in church yet? Are there too many stressors here? What can I do to help? Let's find and remove those barriers to proper behavior and help our child feel supported and strong. Instead of thinking in the following way, which would be like, they won't behave because they are defiant, they just want my attention, so I'll take their toys away after church, and we'll both wind up feeling guilty and frustrated. It then reads on the bottom of the page here, find stressors, reduce them, find unmet needs, meet them, and find skills deficit, teach them. So the second step that Dr. Shanker provided for recognizing or for supporting self-regulation is to recognize the stressors. So what's causing the stress and why is it happening now? Number 3, reduce the stress. How can we reduce or remove those stressors that are affecting behavior, mood, or energy levels? Number 4, reflect. Enhance stress awareness. Teach them what calm feels like and what stress feels like. And then number 5, respond. Help the child learn to respond to stressors and return to calm. This is where we'll introduce the strategies. Of most importance, as Shanker tells us, self-reg parenting starts with relationships. He said the foundation of self-regulation is the feeling of calmness and safety that children experience with their parents. Children learn to self-regulate through co-regulation with parents, which is when two people adjust to and regulate one another's behavior, whether that be mood, emotions, or language, via bidirectional interactive signals and behaviors. So you get to work with your child in this, which is a really beautiful thing. And the word bidirectional means that as much as you pay attention to your child's signs and stressors, you should also be paying attention to yours and talking with your child about your ability to do this. So I'll give an example of what co-regulation might look like. Say you've just finished a really tough day, a very stressful day of work, and you're feeling really on edge when you get home. Meanwhile, your child has been waiting all day for your attention and is super eager to feel that sense of connection with you the second that you get home or the second that you're leaving your at-home office. However, you know you need to get dinner started and you're feeling the heavy weight on your shoulders of having to prepare food and knowing that you're disappointing your child by not sitting down and doing that puzzle together that they are incessantly asking to do. So let's co-regulate. You're both feeling out of sorts, so how do we feed two birds with one stone, or with one seed? Redirect your child's attention from the puzzle to the kitchen and give them a task to help you with making dinner. Even the very little ones can help by cleaning the table with warm water, soap, and a hand towel, and this ends up being really great sensory play for them as well. And then you can continue preparing a meal while feeling like you and your child have connected. This is an example of bidirectional interaction that adjusted and regulated both of your emotions and behaviors. In that example, you facilitated the regulation of behaviors, but it's also important to teach our children how to identify in themselves when they need to regulate their behavior. This is when utilizing tools such as the four colors in Leah Cooper's Zones of Regulation comes in handy. This is something that we talked about in the weeks prior. In your downtime, you can work on your child by explaining each of these colored zones. You can perhaps take a seat in front of a mirror and practice making faces for each zone. So in the blue zone, you might feel bored. What do you think bored looks like? How about sad? How about lazy? In the green zone, you might feel happy. What do you think happy looks like? Let's do a happy face. How about focused? How about calm? In the yellow zone, you might feel excited. What do you think excited looks like? How about stressed? How about silly? In the red zone, you might feel angry. What do you think angry looks like? How about scared? So this activity will help them recognize what it actually looks like to exhibit some of these traits. And it's most important to recognize how they feel, which all comes back to the emotional literacy piece that we've talked about in weeks past. Encourage them to talk about these emotions so they understand that, okay, I'm feeling red. I'm very angry right now. I know I need to be feeling green, so what do I do to get myself there? The tools given in this curriculum focus on getting children to move between zones to ideally land in the zone most important for that environment. But as we discussed with Shanker, the triggers that bring your child stress or into the yellow or red zone are very important to identify. For the real little ones, it may be up to you to focus on. For example, if your infant is always becoming unsettled within the same room, think about the possibility of an environmental stressor, like maybe the lights are too bright. Even wearing a very pinstriped shirt can cause distress in your infant. So always pay attention to the stimuli that's consistent when your child leaves the green zone. So the Zones of Regulation curriculum offers sensory supports, calming techniques, and thinking strategies to help children regulate. However, Leah notes that these strategies need to be practiced, especially in a calm state, several times before they become really effective. So this means we can't really expect our children to immediately learn how to calm themselves down with a breathing sequence when they are experiencing a heightened state. So sensory tools are very broad, and they're going to be very unique to each child. So perhaps you know that your child feels very stressed when getting dressed in certain items of clothing. This could mean that they're sensitive to the texture of that clothing item. That's a sensory. Your child might feel stressed when they haven't had a lot of movement, especially right now in the winter. They're stuck inside, possibly in the same playroom. They might feel stressed by that. So perhaps leaving a workout ball for them to bounce on occasionally throughout the day will help, or one of those little mini trampolines. Maybe you know that your child is always very calm when they are on a swing. So perhaps during the winter months you can install an inside swing. So these are sensory supports that your child can refer back to when they're feeling out of that green zone. So there are a lot of different sensory items that might support your child in different ways, but you'll have to think of your child's needs for this. Cooper's also offers calming techniques, which are similar to what Miss Diane and I have provided within mindfulness and grounding in previous weeks. For example, practicing lazy 8 breathing with your child. So because we've discussed these sorts of things already, today I want to focus on the thinking strategies that she presented. So the first one she offers is called the size of the problem. Just as it sounds, this involves supporting your child in recognizing the size of the problem that has them leaving the green zone or experiencing a stressor. So we want to explain to our children that some problems are really big and some problems are really small. So these big problems are often shared by others, and there is unfortunately no quick and easy solution. For example, the pandemic is a big problem. However, your child feeling upset that their sibling got the last purple popsicle is a small problem, because that feeling of anger ends when they are able to remember that they actually really enjoy the yellow popsicle too. But then there are also those medium-sized problems too, like when the child sees their parents fighting. That might stick with them for a few days, so that's likely a medium-sized problem. This is important because kids need help understanding this. They might not see the difference between the stress that they feel from the pandemic and the stress that they feel because they didn't get the color popsicle they wanted. The reason discussing this is important is because it helps children realize how quickly they can recover from a little problem, and they can start realizing that reacting in a smaller way to a smaller problem will result in a better outcome. So your child could go from, hitting their sibling for not getting the purple popsicle and then being disciplined by not getting one at all, to realizing that, this is a small problem I'm experiencing. What if I just try telling my mom that I'm jealous I didn't get purple so that maybe next time I do? Cooper's also offered what's called stop, opt, and go. So this concept is really great for kids who struggle with impulse control and perhaps struggle with reacting small for a small problem. So this stop, opt, and go phrase is to be used to aid children in slowing down before acting on an impulse. So we want them to stop and consider options before they go. So you can utilize stoplights when you try this one. Tell your child that when they're feeling like they are in the red zone, they have to stop, just like they're at the red light. When they're approaching red, but they're in the yellow, they need to slow down and think of as many options as they can, whether they be good or bad options, as long as they're thinking about what the result or consequence of each option is. So in the example above, do I hit my brother because he got the purple popsicle? Or do I tell my mom that I'm kind of upset that I didn't get the purple one? Maybe next time I will get the purple one so that things are fair. So these are the sorts of options that we think about. We want to think about each option, and then after they opt, they can go to the best option. So in addition, an article for Nurture and Thrive blog gave 7 science-backed ways to teach self-regulation to our children. And I think that they support our wrap-up of this topic. So help your child recognize the higher goal. This is the first one. We've talked about this. It's that idea of I don't eat cake for breakfast because I would rather be happy or healthy. I know that I could eat the cake for breakfast and it would make me really happy, but long term it's not my main goal. So kids need support in seeing this big picture. Encouraging good behavior by showing your children the big picture. This reframes your approach from behave in the grocery store and I'll get you ice cream to we have to behave in the grocery store because you like spending time with mommy, and if you don't, then I won't be able to take you next time. Then that behavior is coming out of really wanting to behave well to spend time with mom instead of behaving well because I want ice cream. Number 2, outline expectations and the higher goal before teachable moments. So when you are aware that a teachable moment is coming, like for example, having quiet time when a sibling takes their nap, you can prepare for that experience by explaining why we want to behave a certain way. So we have to be quiet so Johnny will be well rested to play with you after his nap. What quiet activity would you like to do while he naps? Number 3, acknowledge the challenge. This links back to our awareness that kids are still learning. They won't be masters the first day we start working with them on this. So it's important that we let them know that we understand their unexpected behaviors as well. Number 4, have your child make a choice and a plan. This is one of my very favorites. It is such an easy thing to incorporate into your daily routine, and it has helped me conquer some daycare tantrums in the past. So for example, in the daycare that I worked at in the past, I had this little one in my toddler room that never ever wanted to leave the toys at the end of the day. And his dad would really struggle in getting him to slow down and get dressed. So I encouraged dad to give his son a choice, by saying, would you like me to help you get dressed? Or would you like Miss Nicole to help you get dressed? And he would have to stop and he'd have to consider the options that his dad gave him and then focus on the answer. After he's had that thought, he'd then be ready to get dressed because he chose how it would happen. It won't work every time, obviously, but simple questions like, would you like apple juice or grape juice this morning? Gives your children the autonomy needed to self-regulate. Number 5, use games. So remember, kids and ourselves too can't really be taught self-regulation. It's something that we learn by doing and by practicing. So any game that requires a child to control their impulses will assist with the cognitive development needed to be able to self-regulate. Remember though, self-control is not self-regulation, but the ability to control an impulse is necessary for self-regulation to develop. So I'll provide some games in a minute that you can incorporate into play with your child that focus on their control. But following through with the 7 science-based facts. Number 6, remember self-regulation skills develop over a lifetime. So this is pretty self-explanatory in that the brain is continuously changing. Their self-regulation skills will change with their developing cognitive abilities. And number 7, finally, remember it is just as important to let go of control. Not all moments are teachable moments. Let your kids let loose and have fun and feel silly and feel excited when it's behaviorally appropriate. So an example of a game that you can play was outlined in an article for Positive Psychology. It's called the traffic light game, which requires one person to play the role of traffic police and the others will play car drivers who wait for the signal. So when the traffic police holds up a green card, the other players move forward. And then when he lifts the red card, they have to stop and remain where they are. I'm sure you are familiar with this game, so it will be easy for you to pick up. But what's important is the conversation that follows that role play. So you should make the connection for your children that the red light represents bad feelings that they should not chase. When they feel these red lights, or when they see these red lights or feel these bad feelings, they should stop until the green light or the happy light comes. So then ask them, what sorts of feelings do you think you should stop when you feel? You can also practice slow motion games to help your child recognize how it feels to literally slow down, because when we are reaching that red zone, our stress response becomes heightened. So when we deliberately slow down our movement and our heart rate for an interactive game, we're actually gaining awareness of that state of alertness, and it will assist us when we're actually needing to lower our heightened state. So there are many other games that focus on control, like Simon Says, musical chairs, or the freeze game. You can try incorporating any of these into your games that you play with your child. But this has really been a lot of information today. I'll let you sit with this information for a bit, and you're welcome to watch it back if you need. Next week is our very last week before Christmas break. I can't believe it. We are going to wrap up self-regulation and discuss some activities that you can do over the break to keep your well-being strong. As always, let's work together and support each other. All comments and suggestions are welcome. Later on today, my ECE colleague Diane will be posting more activities that you can perform with your Mindful Mini, so watch out for this. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we will talk to you soon.